Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we're not painting, but we're going to be talking about lumpia. Lumpia is found in Filipino and Indonesian cuisine. Lumpia comes in a variety of flavors and is a type of spring roll. This week, we made over 700 pieces of lumpia, and I wanted to share my personal recipe with all of you. Before we get started today, do me a favor and hit that subscribe button at the bottom right hand corner of this video and hit that like button while you're at it. That helps me as a new YouTuber get my content out to the YouTube world. So when I make lumpia, I make tons of it. So here is my typical setup on my stove. I have my minced garlic, I have my minced carrots, and then I have my pureed onions. I personally don't like onions, and so I puree them to get the flavor but hide the texture. While everyone's recipe is a little different, mine starts out with 2 heaping tablespoons of garlic. I put that in a hot pan and allow it to simmer. I then add 2 tablespoons of the carrots and 2 tablespoons of the onions. I then add a teaspoon of black pepper and also a teaspoon of salt, and I mix that together and allow it to simmer on the stove. This will develop the flavors of the carrots, the garlic, and the onions and bring out the sweetness of the carrots. I then add 1 pound of ground beef. I then make sure I break it up into little itty bitty pieces over the top of that seasoning. Once that is completely broken up, I then add another teaspoon of pepper and salt to the meat itself. After allowing the bottom to cook a little bit, I then start to stir. And the way I stir is I fold it over into itself, bringing in the seasonings, the onions, the garlic, and the carrots, and start mixing that together. As I'm mixing it, I'm continually breaking up those little pieces of ground beef, and that will produce better beef to roll in your wrapper. Like many recipes that you will come across in your lifetime, there is a secret ingredient to this one. While the secret ingredient is not going to be disclosed in this video, this is the base recipe for lumpia. So you will still have a successful lumpia with the recipe that I am showing you today. As you can see, I am still making sure that this beef is continuing to cook, making sure that it's cooked all the way through before draining it and adding it to a bowl. Now, because I make a ton of it at a time, I usually use these huge bowls to give me more room to put more beef. So 1 pound of beef is going to give you enough to wrap 25 lumpia, and that's going to be an average wrapping of lumpia. And because I do make a ton at a time, I figured you guys didn't want to see all of it, so I just kind of time-lapsed it for you. It kind of looks really satisfying to watch. Once you're done cooking your beef, you'll want to let it sit in a bowl and get to room temperature. You can either put it in the fridge or the freezer or cover it and leave it out on the countertops. For me, it takes a few hours for it to cool down because I do make so much. The final ingredient you're going to need is the spring roll shells. I find that this brand is the best brand to use. This is just my personal favorite and my personal opinion. But I do find that they fry up really nicely and they're extra crispy when they fry. Now let's talk about your wrapping station. This is my typical setup. I have a paper towel where I put my spring roll shells. I have a small dish with egg that is scrambled. I have my beef, which is in a bowl and easily accessible, and that has a tablespoon in it for easy dipping. And finally, I have a pan where I put my finished lumpia. Now, one more thing. Before you start rolling your lumpia, this is an egg roll. So what I usually do is I add 1 egg per pound of beef and I mix it up in the cooked beef. I want to make sure my beef is cool before starting to mix my egg. There are a couple of other things that you're going to see that are necessities for me in my wrapping station. The first is a drink. It's either water or some kind of caffeine. And then the second thing is my iPhone. I usually am playing a movie or even a Netflix series on my iPhone as I wrap. I just find that it's easier and it passes the time a lot quicker, especially when I have these big orders to fill. Because these wrappers come frozen, you have to be very patient with the first 5 or few that are in your pack. You have to be very careful in peeling the edges off. They break very, very easily, so just take your time. If you are unsure if you're able to do it or not, wait for them to thaw a little bit before you start wrapping. I'll start pulling each one off little by little until I get the whole thing off, and then you'll see me hold it in between my hands. This will warm up the wrapper slightly, and it will allow me to fold it a lot easier. The texture you're looking for when it's warmed up enough is that it will move like a fabric. It'll move like a heavy cotton will, and that will allow you to fold it without breaking the actual wrapper. Once your wrapper is ready, place it diagonally in front of you. Take a tablespoon of beef and place it at the bottom of your wrapper towards the bottom corner. If you put too much beef in your wrapper will break. If you put too little beef, your wrapper will not fry all the way through. I've slowed this next part down for you. So the first wrap that you're going to make is you're going to fold over your beef. You're going to tuck it underneath your beef and begin to roll extremely tightly up into the middle where you have your 2 points on the side. I then place my fingers deliberately to the desired length of lumpia. I fold over my pointer finger, grab, and then I roll once, put my fingers back over, and then fold over my pinky. I then roll one more time, tucking in the sides to ensure that the sides will not go over the length of the lumpia. I then grab a dab of egg on my finger, wipe it on the inside of that corner, roll the lumpia over that corner. I then flip it and then add enough egg to make sure that the lumpia will stick. I then start on my next lumpia wrapper. Don't worry, we're going to do it one more time just so that you can see it. Because this is still a frozen pack, I warm up the next wrapper in my hands until it's the consistency of a heavy cotton fabric. Once the consistency is right, I place it diagonally over my workspace. I then add a tablespoon of beef to my lumpia wrapper. Start the process with one fold over, tuck, then roll tightly to the middle, fold over my pointer finger, roll once, fold over my pinky finger, roll again, and then tuck in those edges all the way to the end of the lumpia wrapper. I then add a dab of egg to the end, keep rolling, and then make sure the egg is on the outside to make the wrapper stick. I'm sure you guys don't want to see the next few hundred rolled like this, so I've time-lapsed it for you and put it in here for you to watch. Once I'm done with all of my lumpia, I bag them up and put them in the freezer. I find that they fry up a lot better when they're frozen than when they're fresh. If you don't want to deep fry your lumpia, put half an inch of oil into a frying pan. Bring it to medium heat and then put in 1 tester lumpia. This will ensure that your oil is not too hot and not too cold. You'll want to have nice sizzling bubbles, nothing that's splattering and nothing that's really too boring. Once the tester is done, you can go ahead and put in as many as your pan will fit. Just remember, the more lumpia you put in, the cooler your oil will become. Be sure to flip them over halfway through the process, and once they are a beautiful golden brown, you can take them out and put them on a paper towel to get the oil off of them. You can serve lumpia as an appetizer, an entree, or a side. I personally like to just eat it with rice and sweet chili sauce. There you have it. Whether you're making small batches or large batches like I did this week, lumpia is sure to be a fan favorite amongst your family and friends. Don't forget to follow me on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And for more videos like this, hit the subscribe button and check out my channel. In case you missed any of the steps or ingredients in this video, you can check everything out in the description below to make your own lumpia at home. Thank you guys so much for stopping by, and I'll see you guys next time.